Hey guys, today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Fred. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, MP3 player. That's audibletrial.com/Fred. But for now, enjoy the show. Welcome everyone to the 2016 Podcats Blast. That's right, day 6, 7 days, 7 episodes, and 7 amazing authors. Thank you so much for clicking the download button. I'm Frédéric Bay. I'm talking to you from right here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. You are listening to the Book Geek Unchained. Yeah, that's right, we're unchained here at the Book Geek, home to literary marvels. Those you know and those you don't know. I am a guy, I am a dude, I'm a geek, I'm a bookworm, I'm a writer, I'm a host, I'm a friend, I'm a partner, I'm an animal lover. This podcast is about fiction and non-fiction books. Books that we love, books change our lives, books entertain us, books make us grow. It is a live podcast. It is free every time you download it on iTunes or Stitcher. Please go over there and subscribe. It is listener supported. So the way you can do that is tell a friend, help a brother out, leave a review for more podcasts, free gifts, Q&A articles. Subscribe at FrédéricBay.com, on Twitter at ByFred, or on Facebook, simply type in my name, Frédéric Bay. And check out my YouTube channel, The Book Geek, or type in my name, Frédéric Bay. You'll find me also for previous episodes. All right, right before we dive into today's guest, I always like to start off with something funny. And listen to this. A man went to his lawyer and told him, "My neighbor owes me $500 and he won't pay up. What should I do? Do you have any proof he owes you the money?" asked the lawyer. "Nope," replied the man. "Okay, then write him a letter asking him for the $1,000 he owed you," said the lawyer. "But it's only $500, replied the man. "Precisely. That's what he will reply, and then you'll have your proof." Those lawyers, they're always a little, But anyway, you have to deal with it, and so anyway. All right, guys. In this second part conversation, we talk with Maura Sweeney. She's an author, a podcaster, an international speaker, HuffPost blogger. She is the ambassador of happiness. Maura guides people on the path of living happy inside out. So get ready to get a fresh dose of joy for the next 45 minutes. I guarantee you. Maura Sweeney is an enthusiastic person. Is the least to say. She's really an enthusiastic person. All right, today we're going to talk about The Art of Happiness series. We're going to talk about happiness, obviously, influence, values, the right competition. We're going to dive into her work. She has a real genuine passion about her work. And that's so cool about her, is that, you feel it. It comes through her. And so without further ado, we're going to get into we're going to get to the conversation right after this. Hey guys, quick thanks to RadioGuestList.com, where you can find people to interview for free. Or if you want to be interviewed, you can go there too. RadioGuestList.com. Thank you guys for your support. And speaking of you listeners, I want to hear from you. If you would like to be on this show to discuss a book you have written or that you loved, if you have a book recommendation, or you just want to chat, email me. I want to hear from you at info@fredericbay.com. That's info@fredericbay.com. And for advertisement offers, use the same address. With Subject: advertising. All right, so we're talking with Maura Sweeney. She's an author, HuffPost blogger, international speaker, podcaster, a world traveler and connector. She's on a mission to spread happiness around the world. She's the ambassador of happiness. That's a very, very fascinating conversation we're having. All right, so you wrote The Art of Happiness. It's a series. I read the first book. I loved it. And all right, why I think you chose a subject that really everybody can relate to, which is dancing. You talked about it earlier, where you started to you started to dance at around almost 50 years old, and no, but I love everybody can relate to that. Why did you choose dancing as the main subject? Is it because? Go ahead.
This would probably be one of those things where does writing and destiny all come in? I was a little 3-year-old watching Saturday morning TV and watching high school kids dance and talk about music. And all I knew was that to me represented happiness and social joy. So here I am later on. I told you my daughter started college early. She's the one who said, Mom, you always wanted to learn how to dance. You're going to sign up for this course. Little did I know at this juncture where I was ready to change my life that taking that course to learn how to dance, this thing I always wanted to do but always put off. Now, perfect reasons. I'm going to school. I don't have time. I'm going to graduate school. I don't have time. I'm working full time. I don't have time. Or I don't have money. Or then I'm too old, right? There's always a reason. All right, I finally do it. I break through and I, in a sense, go back to something I loved as a child or wanted to love as a child and never got a chance to do. In that process of breaking through, I had to undo so much emotionally, psychologically, physically, just learning. It's not like I'm out of shape. I'm probably in very, very good shape, but I wasn't in dancing mode. And I was so inspired by all the things I went through. I wanted to share the journey with others. And here's the crazy thing. I told you I was a little girl, so fascinated by the typewriter and the written word. I ended up with the story of learning how to dance and getting through or exiting my own comfort zone to find happiness. That story launched my book series, The Art of Happiness. So here, as we pursue the things we love in life, things come together for us as if magically or as if by design. And we end up putting several things together. And what do? We have something new that represents us, but it's a gift for others. So as I bring people on my journey of exiting my own comfort zone, and there were a lot of other fears, and I want to tell you something else. Did you know I have friends that never, once they learned I was taking dance, and these would be friends that maybe were in some setup, they never asked me how my dance classes went, never went to see me. And then they stopped seeing me, period, after that. When we get out of our comfort zone, we may lose some old people in our lives that are uncomfortable with the new us. But guess what happens? It opens us to a completely new venue of all new people that are embracing the change and only help fuel it. So that book on exiting the comfort zone was my journey, but I turned it into something that's universal. And Frederick, this is probably a general statement that works for the rest of the series. One of the books is on comfort zones. The next is on influence, because we are all people of influence, but we've been brought up to think we're not. I wrote a book on competition. I wrote about it in terms of the right competition. There's only one person we should be competing with, and that's ourselves. And we'll always get better, and we'll always do better, and we'll never have to feel embarrassed for having walked over anybody else. I wrote another story about judgment, which was hysterical because this is the ultimate. If you thought dancing was universal, how about a story on judgment when your mother-in-law doesn't like you? Is that not a universal story? Yeah. Right? The mother-in-law never accepts you. It was called Judgment, but the story, they're all the same thing. I'll ask my readers a question about a general topic that we could all relate to. So comfort zones, influence, competition, judgment, values, and my last book being nonsense, because there's nonsense everywhere in the world. But on the judgment story, it's, have you ever judged anyone? Or have you ever been judged? And how do you feel about it? And I said, I'd like to bring you along on my story. I'm calling it Judgment and the Polish Inquisition. And as you read through my story, I want you to revisit the story or stories of your own life pertaining to judgment. And here it was, I tell the story the first time I ever met my future mother-in-law, who happened to be of Polish descent, who was insistent upon the fact that her son was going to marry somebody she was going to choose who was going to be of Polish descent. And sorry, but there's no Polish in me. Nothing I could do could make me Polish. And I bring people through on what was really for me a horrific experience, in a sense, being like 20 years old and meeting this woman and her 4 Polish sisters and the grandmother's picture on the wall who had already deceased, who's also Polish, and other Polish people. And they all want to know if I'm going to pass the test. And no matter what question they asked me, even though I had my own abilities, nothing was right. And it was so cute. It's looking at anything, Frederick, in retrospect, we can find humor. We can find bright elements. We can find learning. We can find just commonalities. And when I wrote this book 30 years after meeting my mother-in-law, I was hysterical laughing with my husband because he was reminding me of things. People could read that book and think, okay, how have I been the one who judged, or where have I been judged? So how can I go through life being less judgmental of others? Or where can I be a little more forgiving in my own life? So I love writing these books. I wrote a book on values. Do you know every one of us has a special value or two that we love and we cherish? Mine happens to be truth. And I write the story about always relating so well to truth. Now, other people may run away when they hear anything about the truth. Give me anything but the truth, right? You know, people are like that. Yeah. And mine was, I grew to love it. But I write these stories so that my readers can go back in their own life stories. And as they're reading my stories, which sometimes read like a bad episode of I Love Lucy, you know, and I'm usually Lucy, right? But they can laugh along with me. They can learn with me. They can relate. But as people hear a story, and this is probably a great thing worth repeating. I once heard someone say this, a story can take us from one reality to another one. As we hear one story, we're hearing their story, but you know what we're doing. We're writing our own life into it. And they take us from one reality to another. And if my stories, as they are shared with others, and people have told me this, help people come out of the episodes or time periods or events in their own lives where they got stuck, or they judged themselves or others poorly, or they got minimized or marginalized, and they can go through that same story and relive it and come out with a brighter perspective, then I will feel like I have so improved and brightened the world. And the subtext or the subheading of my books are, it's living happy inside out. Well, that's my mantra, but it's called See Yourself and Be Yourself. And I invite all of my readers to come on in. You might be reading my story or tales that I'm sharing of someone else, but in the process, I'm inviting you to see yourself anew from the inside and to be yourself. And the more people I can encourage and inspire to be themselves, the more I feel like I will be contributing to happy people making forth a happier world.
Wow. Once again, this is Frederick Bayen. We're here with Maura Sweeney. She's an author, international speaker, HuffPost blogger, podcaster. She's the ambassador of happiness. So how many books? So that's you have your comfort zone. You have a book on influence, but a book on the right competition, on judgment and values. This is your Art of the Happiness series, right?
Right. And what a nonsense, which is very funny about how like there's absolute insanity in the world and sometimes you just have to get past it. And by the way, speaking of this, you asked me if you could pronounce my name correctly. That's right. I've been calling you Frederick and you are a French language descent. And I want to tell you this. You want to talk about failure? I took French classes probably for 4 years when I was trying to teach my daughter.
Really?
I just never learned it. Ooh. There I go. You think I learned with 4 years how to pronounce it's not Friedrich. It's funny.
Well, it's Frederick, but you know, it's
Frédéric? How do you say it? It's got to be beautiful.
In French, it's Frédéric.
Frederic. Oh, it's beautiful, and I'm killing it, but it's beautiful.
All right. Thank you. Let's dive into a little bit. I'm curious about a lot of people who are listening are in the corporate world. And it's a competitive world. I certainly was in the corporate world for a while. And, to climb the ladder, you're kind of conditioned to, it's always about, step on people, blah, 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 blah. So, and I know for a fact that a lot of people are uncomfortable with that, which is understandable. So talk to us a little bit about that. What's your take on that?
Well, first of all, I used to recruit for corporate. I was a high-end executive recruiter. So I started when I was in law school and kind of after I got out of law school, I worked at an executive recruiting firm, and I was recruiting general managers, vice presidents for Fortune 500 companies. So here I am as a young person, and I am getting into the minds, like you like to do, of very well-developed executives, and I wanted to know what made them successful. And I was always going into their backstories. And let me tell you something. The best executives, the best leaders were not the ones that had the perfect resume or even the perfect degree background. These were people who knew how to manage through difficult times and come out of them. So that was that. And secondly, I spent a decade in corporate America, in management, in probably at the time what was, if not it wasn't the most competitive industry, telecommunications, but it was one of the most competitive industries, very fast moving. I didn't even want to go into management, but I was moved into it. And you know something? Fortunately, I was down here in Florida. Both companies I worked for had corporate offices. One was in Chicago, the other one was in the DC area. And because I always had the numbers, people didn't bother me until February when they wanted to come to Florida and, visit. But how could I say this? I guess it's not in my DNA and never was to believe in pecking orders where I just would mistreat other people. In my estimation, I want to be the best person I can. I want to be the best representative of what is best as I can. And I want to hire and treat the best people the best way I can. And I developed that as my culture. So I did it within my office. Then I had several offices. Then I was recruited to bring a new corporation down here in this area and launch another office. And I did this for almost 10 years. And I was consistently a successful manager. And the people that worked for me, salespeople, consistently excellent. And it was because I was never a jerk. Seriously, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I wasn't the anti-jerk. It wasn't that. I used to assume people managed the way I did. I didn't realize most people manage by intimidation. It's not in my DNA.
Subtle intimidation.
I know, but it's not good. You know something? Let me tell you this. This is crass, and I won't use the whole thing. But when I was recruited into this other telecommunications company, they wanted me to launch a new branch office for them down in Florida. So I had to start from scratch. And one of the things, I had a 4-hour interview with the person who was going to be my new manager. And I explained for 4 hours what my management philosophy was. And I know it works. That too is in my DNA. I develop leaders, and everybody could be a leader and everybody could be an expert. And when you empower people like that, there is no negative competition. So anyway, I fly up to the DC area. I meet with the senior vice president. I know I'm not at this point. I'm going to have to give my resignation at the former company because I'm so loyal. I felt like, this is I'm cheating on my husband, So anyway, with my former company, I accept the position. I walk out of his office and I walk into the office of my new manager, the one who interviewed me for 4 hours. And this happened to be a woman. And unfortunately, this is a shame to say because I've heard this of women sometimes. They think they have to be like men in some regard. She's wearing a $1,000 suit. She's got a 10-carat ring on. She's got a Porsche Carrera with, it's a convertible, and she's got all the things that look great. She leans across the desk and she says to me, "Don't F with me." Ooh. Now, I don't even use that word. It's just you would figure that out. The ambassador of happiness would never use a word like that. Anyway, I was so startled. I'm thinking, this is my thought. Where did this woman ever get the idea that I would do such a thing? I'm leaving my previous company because what they were doing to the employees was something I could no longer defend. And I could not be even fake or inauthentic with my own employees. So I was leaving my previous company for legitimate reasons. Why would she think that I would want to do something wrong with her? Now, here's the irony of the entire thing. The very person she was reporting into, which was the senior vice president that just offered me the job, she used to say to me, I can't stand the way he treats me. He plays so many mind games with me. And the first thing he'll say to me is, well, if you can't do it, maybe we could find somebody else who can. She hated the fact that man spoke to her that way. And so what did she do? She turned around and did the same thing to everybody. Now, to me, that's absolute insanity. I'm sure I could write a book on that one, too.
Yeah, but you should.
Why do people do that? And it's funny. I was actually interviewed a couple of months ago by a show. It was called Shedding the Bee. The B word, right? And I'm like, I don't even know if I could advertise that I'm on this show because I don't even use that word. But when she was, the interview said that this is the woman that ran the show. And she said, something? She said, I was in corporate America and I didn't even realize what a rotten lady I was until I was pink slipped. And she said, so now that I've learned my lesson, she said, I try to do everything I can. She became an author and she interviews people. But the whole idea is the bee in everybody, women as well as men, it's our fears.
Oh, yeah.
And we end up pushing our fears off on other people. And you know what I would do? I could not do that. I would take the fears on myself if it meant I had to be up at night praying, saying, dear God, give me an answer to how to solve this problem tomorrow when I go to work. I couldn't mistreat people. And I'll tell you this, many, many years later, I can't even tell you all the friends I have to this day that worked for me, that I hired, and even managers I would work for, we're still friends today. I don't have any bridges behind me that I'm embarrassed by. And I'm telling you, that's empowerment. That's happiness. And when you're happy, I told you about the success advantage, the happiness advantage, you do up to 50% better. Have I not had people that wanted to stab me in the back? Yes, but I refused to stab them back.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's good.
Seriously. And I'll tell you, I used everything. I would never speak unless I knew something wise to say that would help the person on the other side.
But when you do that, don't sometimes in the corporate world, if you don't strike back, I don't know if it's the right word, but if you don't do something, people see you as a weakness. Like they see you as weak.
All right. I hear what you're saying because that's what we're supposed to believe. Now, granted, you're not standing in the same room. Do I strike you as weak?
No, of course not. Of course not. But when they see you as weak, they steamroll over you.
No. You know what? I hear what you're saying, but I'll tell you this. Let me give you one example, and I've shared this. It's funny. A couple of months ago, I was brought over to speak in Europe it was a leadership and human resource conference, but it was all about corporate leadership. And I happened to talk about how you can change paradigms. When I was a brand new manager in the position I didn't even want, but I was pulled out to become a manager, there were 12 reps in my office, 10 of whom wanted the manager's job. I was not one of them, and yet I was the one that was told I was going to get the manager's job. There was a woman, she was probably 20 years older than I was, 15, 20 years older. So I'm already this fledgling young manager, and this woman did not want me to be her manager. And she was doing something in sales that was not right. Now, probably out of ignorance, but when I discovered what she was doing and that she was making some errors, I wanted to quietly bring her into my office so I could go over some of the pricing details she was offering and explain. She, with the backup, now this is typical, wouldn't come into my office, and I'm really covering for her mistakes, and I'm her manager, and she's reporting it to me. She refuses to come into my office. She goes out into the main huge room where everybody's working in their cubicles and starts to tell me off and undress me from the top of my head down to the bottom of my feet. Now, it was so shocking that everybody else in the office is probably looking, thinking, oh my gosh, what's Maura going to do? Is she going to stay? Is she going to run out of the building? Or is she going to attack? You know what? That's funny. I could remember this. I was in my maybe 27 years old. I could even remember the white suit I'm wearing. I just stood there as she just mouthed off and mouthed off and mouthed off. I let her do it. And then she started running out of steam, and she got so nasty that she ended up, after she was done with me, she talked about the company, she talked about the product. She was disgracing everybody. I said to her very quietly when she was finished, I said, are you finished?
Ooh.
And she said, yes. And I said, well, thank you very much. I said, I'll expect your letter of resignation within the next half hour. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. Do you know that changed everything from that point forward? She did leave. She was just nasty. She did herself right. I let her just dig her own hole. She left. But you know what else happened? The rest of my office from that moment forward knew that I would never counterattack, that you could tell me what you wanted to tell me, but you also had to be responsible for your words. It broke through. It gave everybody a sense of freedom, and it also established my leadership. Totally different, wow, right? Yeah. What is that? You don't hear people do that.
Yeah.
And yet it made our office from that point forward a pleasant place to work, and everybody else knew, Maura will go toe to toe with anybody over some good reasons, but she's not a pushover, but she's kind and always fair. And people have said that to me. Even today, I was on the phone a couple of weeks ago with somebody that used to work for me. These are people that have gone on, they've done many things. And one of the guys said to me, he said, Maura, I look back on that time, and he said, it was so much simpler. He said, I said, how would you describe it? He said, you know what? He said, we had such great people. He said, everybody wanted to keep doing better because they were around such awesome people. We'd be happy for other people doing well, but it would just make us want to kick butt even more to step up again. It was positive and not negative competition. And people would help one another. It was healthy competition, not negative competition. So that's a little bit of my philosophy. It's my philosophy. I'm very integrated in everything I do. So great questions you're asking me.
Thank you.
I love answering them.
Once again, this is Frederick Bryan. You are listening to, we are here with Maura Sweeney. She's an author, international speaker, HuffPost blogger, podcaster. She's the ambassador of happiness. Her latest series, The Art of Happiness. Let me ask you this. Do you have a happiness habit?
Oh my gosh, you know what? Out of every question you've asked me, and everybody else I interview all the time, nobody ever asked me, do I have a happiness habit? You know what? The only thing I will say is this, if you want to call it a habit, I'm extremely observant, like you are, of the human psyche. My habit is if I'm challenged in any way, shape, or form to either feel daunted, disappointed, frightened, because that's really the opposite of your happiness zone, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know what? I don't react. I will wait. I will go away on my own. I will get into a grateful mode, and eventually I will get a new thought, a new idea, and it brings me right back to feeling happy, stable, and peaceful, but hopeful as well. If you want to call it, that would be my happiness habit. When I'm not happy, I go and get on my own, and I retrain my brain to get back there again. Is that a good answer? I don't know if it's not a pass fail, of course, but
no, I know, yeah. No, but do you do something the same? Like, is there something you do every day to maintain? Like, do you meditate? Do you?
That kind of a thing. Okay. I thought you meant just specifically being happy. You know what? I'll tell you this. Every morning I'm up early. I bring my coffee up into our third-story bedroom. I am on my own. I'm quiet. I could sit. I could watch birds in the trees. We're on the third story. We're in an estuary area. I am with my journal if I need it, and I am getting inspired. So that's part of my day. And because I don't rush into my day, although I'm working and thinking, I don't rush over to my desk and do stuff. The other piece of it is I probably work out almost every day of the week. I mentioned that I go to the spa, and I find ways to be out and among people. Those kinds of things give me energy, inspiration, a chance to connect, and balance.
Wow. All right, just before continuing this conversation, for you, the listeners of the Book Geek Unchained podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. I personally recommend the audiobook The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, or you can choose the audiobook of your choice for free by trying audible.com. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Fred. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Fred. You will be entertained, and at the same time, you will help a brother out. So everybody wins. Go to audibletrial.com/Fred for your free audiobook. A lot of people, you're living the life that a lot of people would like to live, what does a day look like in the life of the ambassador of happiness?
Other than laughing a lot.
Okay, you wake up, you go to the third story bedroom, you watch shows, you write, What do you do? What does a day look like? Typical day.
Oh, right now you're talking to me and I'm in my office. I happen to love what I do. I kid you not. I love what I do. Later on, I'll be doing, all right, let me say this. I could be going to a class. I could be out on a bike. Sometimes I will tell you this, as much as I may work, if you want to call it in parentheses, 7 days a week, I cannot fabricate something that's not real and not inspired. But I could get all of a sudden in the car and I'm driving around some beautiful areas, and you know what I hear? I'll hear a voice in my mind with an inspired question. I'll get an idea for a blog. I'll get something for a podcast. I'll get a new concept for something I want to do. So my inspiration comes from getting out and being around and among different people. I'm also very happily married. Our daughter lives in New York. She's grown right now, but I keep in touch with her. I have a husband who is another creative. He does everything pertaining to his Mike Sports comic book series, and he does his thing. I work with him, so he might be on one floor, I'm on another. He plays basketball, I'm working out. We're always doing something. And I have to just say, you're saying, oh, I have a nice life. What people don't realize is that this has taken me decades to get here, and I hope to inspire others to get there sooner. But the whole idea is I work with what feels right on the inside. If I'm writing about living happy from the inside out, like my husband will be the first one. He said to me last week, I was working so hard. He said to me, I think you need to you need to do your newest podcast more on how do you deal with being crabby. He said, because you're not acting like the ambassador of happiness. And I cracked up. And you know what he said to me? It's time for you to get out, get on the bicycle, go to workout class, do something, get out with people, stop working. And so that's part of my day too, is living with a guy who's very funny, extremely supportive, and loves to encourage me to do what I'm doing. Wow. So I have lots of friends, and I will tell you, my friends are highly eclectic. I meet people all over the world. I am having the best time talking to you today. Oh. And after we're done, we're going to connect beyond this. So what is my day? My day is all kinds of things. None of my days are ever exactly the same, but they're all life affirming. They're all looking for inspiration. And here's the thing. I get my inspiration from being around people and being around different kinds of people.
We have around 10 minutes left. Who is your mentor? Or it can be somebody you knew on television or somebody close to you.
Funny, I was thinking about this the other day. I really did not have a mentor. When I was little, I think this is why I tend to be more on the spiritual side. Like, you could hear me talk. I sound very much like I'm, pretty balanced person. I'm very much a hybrid. But I think as a young child, I became a spiritual person because I really didn't have a mentor. So every time I had a question, I would go on my own. And I just believed that God could hear me, that God wanted to be known, and he had a way of speaking or communicating. And I told you, I referenced it before, when I would have trouble at work, I would have to go, and at night I'd be saying, okay, God, you gave me this job. You've got to give me some answer, some wisdom. And inevitably, I get it. It could be in the middle of a dream. I could be watching something. I'd hear something in my head. It would be like, there it is. There's the wisdom. And the other ways I get my mentoring, I would say I'm a reader. I read a lot of nonfiction. I go and find my mentorship from a variety of places. It could be from biographies, whether I look at them on YouTube or on an HBO, or if I'm reading biographies or I'm doing research. I find mentors wherever I can, because I always believe there's a better and higher and more unified way. I really believe there's more benevolent ways of doing things, and I always believe in like a higher way of seeing things. So somehow in my belief, I end up getting the answers I'm looking for, but I can't give you one face or one individual that is my quote unquote mentor. And I'll also tell you this, I have a really great husband. I told you we've been together since we were in college. He's smart. He's got skills I don't have. He's honest. He's in my face if I need to get it. and he'd be a great person, more partner than mentor, and vice versa, I'm sure.
I interviewed Beth Banning, the author of Interviewed by God, and I hear a lot of her in you, meaning, the book, she's really talking, like she's writing, asking questions to God kind of, and the answers come to her. And I've experienced that in my life, and it always came down to, as you said, she said the same thing, where it's about the feeling, when it's right, yes. When you live your life in sync with your purpose, with you know what I mean? And that's what I'm hearing in you.
Yes. And you know what? If you look at what I've told you, my mantra is living happy inside out. I was a child brought into this world to be conformed to an outside appearance. And it was not right for me. And I knew it as a little girl. In fact, even my name I didn't like, my clothing I didn't like, the things I had to do I didn't like. And I remember thinking, this is not who I am. I kid you not. I was really like 3 years old. I knew this. And so I would always have to go within to find my truth. And the thing is, when we know it's there to be had, as I tell you, I wish I could hear all the time or get my answers that I'm seeking all the time. But I'll tell you, if we expect to hear in whatever way the answer is going to come, those answers we're looking for, that higher learning, that illumination, that benevolent voice, whatever it may be, it will be there for us. In fact, you know what? It's funny. There are a number of blogs I've written, and there's various references to that. We can get inspired more than we know, and we do it because we're searching, but most of us are too busy buying a big house. Not because, forget about the big house. That's not the issue. The issue is, are we doing these things because somebody on the outside world is telling us to do it? Or are we doing it because our inside said this is part of my destiny? I'll tell you this. Now, this is crazy. My destiny, I believe, is to be a voice in the culture that's not only here in the U.S., where I'm speaking to you from, but throughout the world. And it amazes me to think that I am on a journey now, I've been out of the country twice this year. I'm invited again to go out of the country. And I am speaking at U.S. Embassy outposts, at top, at universities, and at business events and leadership events, and being put in national press overseas as an ambassador of happiness. These are things that are within me that were there when I was a child. And so why we keep living as a society according to what the human race tells us, instead of going within and listening to our inner GPS, is absolutely beyond me. You want to hear my famous quote?
Yeah, go ahead.
If the human race knew where it was going, wouldn't we be there by now? No. We keep following humans that don't know where they're going in a circle. So why not go and listen to advice from the inside?
You mentioned you like to read a lot of nonfiction. What writers have inspired you the most?
It's funny. You're talking about the Conversations, whatever. And I was thinking, I've read Conversations with God. Remember that with Neil Donald Walsh?
Yeah. I love the movie.
But. Oh, I didn't know they had a movie. Yeah. Interesting. But it's very fascinating, that stuff. But what did you say, my best books that I've ever read?
Well, right, yeah, books or writers that you...
Oh, gosh. I spent decades, or no, maybe a decade, reading a lot of the books about espionage, which I love. I love mysteries in the sense of what's going on behind the scenes. I love that. I love finding out what's behind the culture. What's behind the power structures that are sort of pulling the Svengali strings, telling everybody this is the way you need to live. I enjoy those things. I love biographies. I love cultural icons. I love reading leadership and biographies about people that have been national leaders or cultural leaders. I don't think I could point to anyone in particular, but I will tell you those kinds of books teach me a lot. And when you said who are my mentors or who is my mentor, that's where I get my mentoring from, because in every person's story or life story, I'm picking up their lessons. I'm learning from them vicariously. And I love that. And there are many things that might have taken, let's say, decades ago or in another country, but there are always lessons that are universally learned. And that's what I'm always looking for.
What is your favorite motivational phrase?
You know what? I probably have several of them, but right now I'm thinking of one of several. Do you know? And I don't know if you would call it motivational, but I would call it an axiom. And it was by Ford, Henry Ford, the automaker. He said, "If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." I believe whatever we think on an ongoing basis is what our reality will become on an external basis.
We're going to wrap this up. What did you learn about yourself as you wrote the series? Finish with that.
I learned how enriching it is to share life stories with others so that they can not only learn a little bit about me, but that they can enrich their own lives in the process. I have so enjoyed that process. And I also learned how much I love to share because in my earlier years, I was very private. So I learned through that how to share more of my life with other people and to take private thoughts and extend them out publicly.
Awesome. Where can we find you, Maura, and buy your books?
Well, the easiest way to find me, you can go to Amazon. If you look up The Art of Happiness, I'm completely eclipsed by the Dalai Lama, who's got a book by the same name. But the easiest way to find me is Maura4you.com. It's my name, Maura, for the number U, the letter, because I'm always for you. If you go to Maura4you.com, you can get all my blogs. I have over 250 YouTube videos that I've done. I have access to my podcast with all of the ways to link up.
What is the title of your podcast?
Podcast is, interestingly enough, Maura Sweeney, Living Happy Inside Out. I'm on iTunes and Stitcher. So for anyone who likes to listen on iTunes, Maura Sweeney, you'll see me living happy inside out. And also, there's links even to my books as well as to my Huffington Post blog. And if they ever want me as a speaker, they want to download even a free book, they can. And can I offer something to the people that are listening today? I love doing this. Anyone who would like a free copy of my book called Exiting the Comfort Zone, it's a short book. They're all short. If they want to write to me, Maura at Maura4you.com, put in the header that they were listening to me on your podcast. Exactly. Yes. Book Geek. And then just ask for a free copy of Exiting the Comfort Zone, and I would love to send it their way. But otherwise, go to moreforyou.com. They will find more for you than they know what to do with, including my books.
Wow, Maura, that was inspiring. That was uplifting. That was refreshing. That was unbelievable. Thank you very much.
We talked a long time, but Frederick, you asked me a lot of really good questions, and thank you because your curiosity about the human psyche, I think, is very similar to mine, and it's always great finding good things that inspire us all.
That's awesome. How did you get on the Huffington Post? You just send them a.
So I'm not sure. I was away traveling, and I got an email, and I thought, the Huffington Post, do they want an article from me or something? Okay. They had actually written to me to offer me a portal. So I'm not sure how it happened. I thought, and that was really a turning point because I used to think, who wants to hear something about happiness? Most people want to learn about what's rotten, who got divorced, who we're going to trash. And I was so thrilled to hear that Huffington Post thought my content that was really inspiring people toward happiness was worthwhile. So I wish I had the magic, what do you call it? Not elixir. What do you call it? Magic recipe to get in? I don't know. Even my husband said, how did you do it? I don't know.
All right. So go check out her blog on the Huffington Post and her website. Thank you again, Maura. That was unbelievable. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. I hope we stay in touch.
Yeah. Thank you very much. God bless you. Hey, you know what? I thought about something. I thought about I want to give your free book to can I post it on my website?
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what you can do. I just released an actual free book, and it's called favorite happiness quotes. I just did it this last week. And what I came up with were 25 of my favorite living happy inside out quotes by famous people. And in every chapter of the 25, I have my own reflections and mini stories in there. I would love for you to put that one on your site. And my other one, you know what? Talk with me offline. I think we might be able to do it. I just want to make sure it's okay with the people at Amazon.
Okay. Oh, yeah. No. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
But that's all right. But you know what? We'll talk about it. Are you kidding? For me to share the happiness, it just makes me smile all the more. So, yes, we'll talk after this interview is over. I think we had an epic time here. I am thrilled, and I will be sharing this interview with other people.
All right. Cool. Thank you very much, Maura.
Okay, you
I'll
too.
notify you when I'll post the interview.
Excellent. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Hey, how was that? It's time for us to ride off into the sunset, but how was that? Maura Sweeney, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this conversation. It was so fun. It was so cool. It was a breath of fresh air. I hope I could talk to people like that too. I hope I could talk to people like her every single day. Don't you find that when you speak to positive people like that, they heighten your vibration? Like, if you're, I don't know, if you're a little bit down, if you're a little bit, it heightens, your vibration, your energy. And that's what she did. She energized me, and I hope she energized you. I'm sure she did. All right, guys, go pick up her book, The Art of Happiness series. As for me, that's about it for me for today. So catch me on Facebook, Frédéric Baye, on Twitter @ByFred, on my YouTube channel, The Book Geek, for previous episodes, and subscribe at FrédéricBaye.com for all the latest news. You're gonna get free gifts. You're gonna get a bunch of fun stuff, and so check it out. And with this, I wish you a great day. Stay safe, and don't forget, live with purpose, passion, and love. Bye-bye.